So what is going on, everybody? Today we're actually going to be showing you guys one of the best DPS support builds currently in the game, and it just came out in title update 16. Because if you guys haven't heard already, Ongoing Directive got a huge buff to group play. Obviously, if you want to run this solo, you can, but there are going to be better builds to run solo. This is made to help out your full team. And what's good about this build is you can run it in countdown and give your whole team those buffs. And when you see this build in action, not only do you hit hard, but you give your teams those buffs to allow them to melt enemies too. And if you get the right buffs, as you guys are seeing right here, the numbers get kind of crazy in countdown. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are gonna have fun. I'll show you some with different buffs, so that way you guys can see multiple numbers, just so you can kind of see what numbers you'll hit with different buffs. But obviously, I feel like this build definitely shines in group play. Obviously, like I said, you can run it solo, but where you're really going to see the benefit of the build itself is in group play, because you are providing amplified damage to your whole team when you guys get kills. So let's get into how I have it spec'd, and I think this is a great way to do it if you guys plan on running this build. So for the weapon, we are using the classic RPK, and I tried a ton of LMGs, but I felt like the harder hitting LMGs like the RPK was the way to go, because that allows you to melt those enemies when you get into those 1v1 situations. And that's what I like about the build. The RPM 650, the max size is 65, and that's going to be key. So remember that. We have LMG damage, 12% damage to targets out of cover, plus that 6% damage to armor I rolled on there. Pretty much the perfect roll you would like on an LMG. I pair that up with Sadist, which gives me 20% weapon damage to bleeding enemies. Obviously, for running Ongoing Directive, we're always going to bleed enemies, so Sadist is almost always active. We have 5% crit chance on the scope. We have 20 round mag. We have 5% critical hit chance, and we have a 5% critical hit chance muzzle. Now, I decided to run the Scorpio as my secondary because, remember, we need the enemy to have a status effect so we can mark them, right? And then once we mark them, we want to kill them. Well, what's a great way to put a quick status effects on an enemy and then swap to your LMG? The Scorpio. Very easy to put a status effect on an enemy, then you swap back to your LMG. We are running a 4-piece Ongoing Directive, 15% status effects for the 2-piece. The 3-piece has 30% reload speed. Now the 4-piece, shooting a status effect enemy will apply a mark. Killing a marked enemy grants a full clip of hollow point ammos for your active weapon, and half a clip of the agent's active weapon to the rest of the party. Now, marks last 10 seconds. One thing you need to keep in mind is you do not have to get the kill, like the final blow of the final shot. Like most, this one you don't. As long as there aren't enemies marked, if everybody's shooting at the enemy, once the enemy dies, everybody will get hollow point ammo. And that's what's really cool about this. Now, what does hollow point ammo do? Well, it amplifies damage, weapon damage by 20%. Oh, and it also applies bleed on hit. So running Sadist is a great talent to run. But what's cool about this is the fact that this is a group build now. Before it used to be a solo player build. Now this has a group talent, which is great, allowing all of your teammates to get that extra 20% weapon damage. Now, for the core attribute, we have weapon damage, we have critical hit chance, and then critical hit damage for the attributes. For the chest, we're running Ongoing Directive chest with weapon damage, critical chance, and then we have the chest piece talent, which is going to increase hollow point ammo weapon damage, amplified to 35%. And this is kind of like running Spotter, because Spotter gives you 15%. The base one is 20%, so it's almost the same thing. That's why I prefer running the chest piece talent. A lot of damage right there. And the one thing you do need to remember is that extra bonus does not apply to party members. So they'll get the 20%, but they won't get the extra 15% from this. So the 35% is for you to hit harder. For the holsters, our 3rd piece of Ongoing Directive, we have weapon damage and critical hit damage. For the knee pads is our 4th and final piece of Ongoing Directive with weapon damage and critical hit damage. For our gloves, you probably guessed it, we are running LMG, so what better gloves than contractor gloves that give us 10% LMG damage. We rolled armor on here. If you want to roll all reds, you can. We have damage to armor, because that is what comes with the Petrov contractor gloves, and then critical hit damage. So we're going to have a lot of damage to armor on this build, and 12% damage to targets out of cover. And then for the pack, we're running the Cheska backpack. This is going to give us 10% critical chance to help our LMG get closer to 60%. We have weapon damage, critical chance, and then obviously a 12% critical damage mod. And then I decided to go with the talent Wicked. You can go with Vigilance either way, but with Wicked, you apply status effects. It increases your total weapon damage by 18% for 20 seconds. So only every 20 seconds, but you should always have this pretty much active. But what I will tell you is if you have Vigilance, if you take a shot, it will deactivate. So it's just hit or miss. Yes, you can hit harder with it, but with Wicked, you can keep it up and not have to really worry too much about it. So just two different talents you can use. I prefer Wicked for this situation that we're running here. For the stats, you might notice we have 52% crit chance, 127% crit damage, 85% headshot damage, 14% armor damage, and don't forget that 12% damage to targets out of cover. So that's why with this build, we shred enemies and giving our teammates a buff. A great support DPS build this is. Now I'll tell you, I just fell in love with this, especially in Countdown, because I knew how much extra damage I was giving my teammates. I could actually see when they started hitting harder. Once I had the buff active for the teammates, you could really see the amount of damage your team was doing, how they were shredding. And if you guys have played Heroic Countdown, you guys know how much tankier these enemies are compared to what we were used to in Countdown prior to Title Update 16. So just definitely something for you guys to keep in mind. I recommend trying this build in group play because this is where it's going to shine, and definitely try the way I have it. And I want to know, how do you guys have your ongoing directive, and what is your favorite weapon to run with the ongoing directive build? I've seen different versions. I've seen people running with ARs, SMGs. I personally like the LMGs. I feel like they hit hard and they have those big mag size, so you can really take advantage of that amplified damage. Every time you do mark an enemy, you kill the enemy, and then you continue. I pretty much have it all the time. And what's even cooler is when you guys can stack it not only on your RPK, but you can stack the bullets on your Scorpio or your secondary, and then whenever you need it, well, you can pull that weapon out. So it's pretty cool how you can continue to stack on both. After you say you mark it with the LFG, you get the kill. You mark them with your Scorpio, you get the kill. You can go back and forth, and get those weapons constantly with the amplified damage plus those hollow point bullets. That's what's cool about it. So I want to know, what do you guys think about the build? Have you guys been running it? I definitely seen a few people running the Countdown. I noticed in my groups, I'm usually the only one running it though, but I definitely know I have a few friends who've been running Countdown, and they're actually enjoying running this support DPS build. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. I will see you guys in the next one, but until then, hey, nothing but skills out. Take it easy, everybody.